For an industry plagued by a complicated web of criminal gangs and the notorious matatus, it is not easy to find their foothold. But somehow, Akamba bus services have managed to do this. Tonight on Biz Week, we are talking to Mr. Bharath Kumar, the MD of Akamba Bus Service.
Hello.
It's good to have you.
Pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure meeting too.
Yeah.
You have been in this industry for the last 55 years.
Yes.
Has it been easy?
It's been a roller coaster ride, let me tell you that much. In fact, we had our ups, we had our downs, but lasting 55 years, it's quite a feat by itself.
You will agree with me that business has been very complicated in the last few years, emanating from criminal gangs to insecurity. How has this impacted on your business?
I think one of the advantages of being an organized sector is that you have your rules and regulations laid down very clearly. The policies have been laid down very clearly, and once you are able to sustain those policies on a very long-term basis, then the growth of the business is primarily with reference to your own thinking. If you are able to think laterally and if you are able to manage your business properly, the sustained plan will automatically give you the growth. I think that's one of the advantages of Akamba. The management has planned a long-term basis. It has never been, there's no shortcuts in terms of a continuous business. You need to go through the grid.
Have you seen the so-called criminal gangs trying to infiltrate into your operations?
External factors, they influence, but they have not been able to affect us adversely. We're able to make sure that business programs are laid down properly and the business programs are carried on properly by the company. I think that's been the advantage and strength of Akamba itself.
The transport sector has gone through a metamorphosis of some sort. The introduction of matatus, minibus and all that. Does this translate into lost business?
Where the matatus primarily operate, we do not operate. We operate on the line hauls and long hauls. So the entrance of matatus, entrance of lot of small-time operators within the city might not have an adverse effect on Akamba directly.
There have been some speculations or reports coming through that Akamba Bus Service, you plan to close your shop and move elsewhere.
So if there is a rumor saying that Akamba is shutting down shop, I think it's a far-fetched dream by anybody. We are definitely here to stay, and we are definitely here to make our contribution to the society, and we are definitely here to also grow. So it is a question of, it's a progressive organization is what you are looking at today.
Do you have any plans to phase out buses and bring on matatus?
Whereas getting into a market where matatus do operate right now, in terms of locally within any city limits, we do not want to at this point of time get into that particular market. But in business you will never know. I keep the options always open.
Sometimes do you feel the temptation of plunging into the matatu business, which makes quick money?
We may not want to get into matatu business per se, but any business model is always dynamic. And any business model which is ethical and dynamic and which we could operate, we always keep the options open. But getting into specifics whether I want to get into a matatu business right now, probably answer would be no. But we always keep the options open in terms of our business dynamics. If business dynamics demand a particular line of business, we would definitely look at that area.
Bharath, suppose you were given the task of streamlining the operations of the local transport sector. How would you go about it?
World over, transport has been a very, very strong backbone of any growing economies. If you were to identify that as a process, then that particular industry requires an impetus what the government has to give. A private sector or even the government sector transport operators can only do a certain extent, but the fiscal policies what you need to put in across will have to be laid down by a dedicated ministry within the realms of the transport ministry itself. I think that's the need of the hour today.
What do you think should be the role of the government in managing the local transport sector?
There has to be a cell which is created within under the transport ministry directly to handle the local transportation requirements. Guidelines and policies will have to be firmly laid down. I would personally feel, along with policies in terms of making how the transport sector should run, identification of these particular necessities becomes very, very imperative for the government.
How hard have you been hit by the global economic recession?
I would be lying if I said we have not been hit. Of course, we've been hit. But I always feel that when you're pushed to the corner, you start innovating. To address this, we said we'll come out with the Hakuna Matata, which is at a low carrier priced one. But I'm sure the situation is going to be not remaining at the same level. We are hopeful the situation will start now looking upwards. So I'm sure, I think we are in the scenario where things can only look upwards. We are confident about that.
Have you seen job losses in your company?
In terms of actual revenue, in terms of passenger movement, yes, we have seen a drop. But the issue is the business model which has been changed so much. We're also able to revive those particular decisions. We're able to revive those numbers back again with the introduction of new product lines.
Bharath, as we come to the close of this interview, I have still one more question for you. What do you think of the government attempted ban on imported second-hand spare parts?
There are certain sectors within the government which has a certain rules which has been set across. We feel, I think the government has taken a stand of banning certain imports items. I'm sure they must be having their reasoning, because you are trying to also create a certain amount of infrastructure building plans internally. I'm sure I support that.
Pleasure having you with us.
Thank you very much. It was good having you here. Well, you have been watching the interview segment part of this weekend. We have been talking to the managing director of Akamba Bus Service, Mr. Bharath Kumar, and we have been talking about the ups and downs in the transport sector. Thank you very much for watching. You are watching Biz Week.